Why don't you turn me loose? Turn me loose. Turn me loose. I gotta do it my way, or no way at all. Why don't you turn me loose? Turn me loose. 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 All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome back. I missed you guys on Tuesday, but there's a reason why I was not here, which I will share with you later on in the show. But welcome to Sabby's podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. If you're new, I do want to let you know that you can also find me on Rumble. You can also find me on Twitter, and of course, right here on YouTube. So, ladies and gents, we have so much to get into tonight. I was singing the Loverboy song because, you know, it's been in my head all day. Loverboy was this band that was around like in the 80s. I don't know if they're still alive today, but they had this like some pretty fun, cool songs. They had that Turn Me Loose song that I was singing. And they also had that song, Everybody's Working for the Weekend, which is a good workout song, by the way. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. It's pretty good. Don't know what happened to those guys, but Loverboy, get you pumped up. Anywho, yeah, a lot has happened. Apparently, while I was out, we do have a lot to get into. And I think it's going to be a pretty interesting show. We do have a deep dive tonight. I haven't done one of those in quite some time, so I'm excited to get back into that. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and give shout outs to people in the chat, ladies and gents. Turn me loose. Turn me loose. Hello, what's going on? I know myself says hello, my fellow soon-to-be serfs. Just another day in this modern-day feudal game we are stuck in. Shout out to Chris, says 2026 club. Greetings, CBC voter, says happy Thursday, Sabby. Eric, Love Boosters, director Boots Riley, May 22nd in theater cinema. Ooh, I might have to check that out. What's going on? Blockbuster says hi. Greetings, OG says, hey, Coach Colin asked me to ask you something, but I can't remember. You know what? I think he's on Twitter. I will DM him. Shout out to Lawrence, says, doobie or not doobie? That is the question. Greetings, Lorez says, hi, Sabby, Eric, Corey, and RBN fam. Larry is great. Has anyone asked this? What happened to the RBN channel? Suppressed too much by algorithm. I still support and watch each of you. No, Rome was live today. I think he's going to try to do the stream again because I think there may have been some internet connection issues. So stay tuned for that. Probably tomorrow he'll probably try to do it again. What's up, Cloudness says, salute to Sabby Sabs. We sure did miss you the other day. Hopefully everything is fine with you, baby girl. God bless you, fam. Anyways, well, it's pull-up season on sellouts, FBA all day, B1 fam. Yeah, I was fine. I sent it out in my newsletter. So if you guys are signed up for my newsletter, you got that message that said I wouldn't have a stream on Tuesday night. Just because there was something that came up, which is a good thing, that I had to work on Tuesday. So I'll share that with you guys later on in the show. But yeah, shout out to Moo says, happy Thursday. Hope the up and down weather isn't getting anyone sick. Some people around here have been getting sick. I've noticed it too. Like a couple days ago, it was like 70 degrees and seemed like spring was coming early for us here in Massachusetts. And now it's cold again. I don't know. It just keeps going back and forth. I can't keep up with it. Shout out to Mr. Moto says the waiting is the hardest part. Tom Petty. Yeah. Greetings. I said I know myself. What's up outside in? Seems like the big players that get the new content out first will only get bigger, while the others covering potentially less popular content or less mainstream may stagnate even harder in the future. He's talking about YouTube. Yeah. So sometimes, like, if I'm not busy and I'm at home and a story breaks, you guys have noticed this before. I'll just record it and I'll upload it as a premiere and it'll be like breaking news. But I kind of have a rule to this. Like I appreciate work-life balance. And I really do think that you have to be careful not to get so wrapped up into chasing like the news, the big story as soon as it gets out, to the point where you're sacrificing your time that you spend with your family and your friends. So like if I'm hanging out with my family or if I'm hanging out with friends, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop doing that to record a news story and upload it. I'm not going to do that. Like that's just kind of, I have rules. I don't know about everybody else, but I do. I believe in work-life balance, and you do have to be careful with that because I've seen people get burned out, and burnout is real, right? So you got to make sure you take breaks. Greetings, Hannah says, Larry. Shout out to Go Artist says, cheers, sane people. Greetings, the Active Guardian says the SPLC was a pass-through for Zionist money, and any candidate that took SPLC or their cutouts money was or is a slave to Israel. Yeah, the Southern Poverty Law Center, that does not surprise me at all. Does not. Greetings, Bryce says, good evening, Sabs, Eric T, and comrades. Shout out to Measured Man says, hey, tribe. Greetings, Froncat says, hola from Panama City, Panama. What is going on? Shout out to DC Fairbanks says, evening, everybody. Thank you for the super chat, Snowy. Iran's mistake has been to agree to ceasefires as these only delay the ending of the war. That's an interesting point. Larry and I get into that a little bit more, especially about the news that was reported recently that the U.S. is actually running out of weapons. That's right. The U.S. is running out of weapons, as much as they talked about Iran running out of weapons. So we get into all of that, folks. I don't want to keep you waiting for too long here. Shout out to Chuck You. Chuck You asshole for becoming a Sabby member. Let's give Chuck You a big whoop whoop in the house. Tonight's theme, ladies and gentlemen, is Fool Me Once. And I want you to think about that when we get into tonight's stories, because these people have already fooled us once. Okay. They've already fooled us once. We don't need to be fooled yet again. Keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and give a shout outs to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you, fam, for keeping the lights on around me. All right. Shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. If you are interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories for you. We have the ultimate, the Sabinators, and they're no later gators. Don't forget about the Sabsters. They're kind of cool as well. We also like the Sabbies out here doing the damn face. Bah, bah, bah. Bah, 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 bah. And last but not least, we also have members. All of their names are listed here, ladies and gents. You can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. And we want to give a shout out to new Sabby patrons. I call them newbies. Let's give it up to Ken, Nathaniel Martin, Ed Grant, Lisa Holtzclaw, and Ule, I think it's Ule Siebert. Thank you guys and welcome so much. Appreciate you, fam. Let's get it popping. We got so much to get into, ladies and gents. So let's go ahead and show that beautiful thumbnail. Again, the theme tonight is Fool Me Once. So let's see what we're talking about. Tonight, ladies and gents. Oh boy, this is a big one. Larry C. Johnson, of course, I spoke to him. You're going to see that interview. I had to record with him a little bit earlier because he wasn't available at 8 o'clock tonight. But you're going to get into all of that. The United States, apparently, it has been reported that we are losing ammo. We do not have a stockpile of weapons, despite what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth would have you believe. We don't have that. And it's out there in the open now. The other thing that is happening with this Middle East situation, the Navy secretary is gone. So we're looking at another military official removed from the Trump administration. Incredibly important here. Larry and I also get into that viral video of him and from Judge Napolitano's show, where he talks about Donald Trump wanting to use the nuclear codes. So Larry does go into that a little bit more because that's gone really viral. So I just wanted to ask him about that face to face. We're also going to discuss CANDACE Owens versus Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer has issued a recent response to CANDACE Owens, and it is very, very vile. And I'm actually shocked I'm actually shocked. I mean, she's crazy. Laura Loomer is crazy, but I'm actually shocked that she said this on camera because it shows you who she is. It reveals you who she actually is, right? We're also going to discuss Ghislaine Maxwell, believe it or not, is requesting a pardon yet again. This woman just won't go away. She won't go away. And we also have a bombshell about Ghislaine Maxwell as well, how she apparently had contacted the DOJ right after Melania gave that speech to the press about the Epstein files. So we're going to get into all of that. There's some shady things going on there, guys, with the DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell. We're also going to discuss, of course, the young guy that you see there in the picture was the one who was accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump. He was killed. He is no longer with us. But now people are coming forward and they are saying that they have questions. Now, even some of the people who supported Donald Trump are starting to wonder if that story is even true. And I told you guys back then, I found it very strange that Donald Trump just stopped talking about it. He no longer talks about this assassination attempt. Is it a cover up? We're going to look into some things. We're going to go back and revisit and talk about it. Last but not least, Palantir, that guy at the end, he's an evil little guy. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into him and big tech in general. Palantir has basically released this evil plan that they have for the United States, but he is not alone. We're going to tell you what they're trying to do. The lawmakers are trying to do here in Massachusetts as well in regards to big tech. So we got a lot to get into, ladies and gents. So buckle up, get ready. The theme again tonight is Fool Me Once. So if you haven't done so, do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. Let's go ahead and get into it. So I spoke to Larry just like an hour ago before this stream. Because Larry had an appointment at this time, so he couldn't come on exactly at this time. But we do have that interview for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. I think this is really interesting because Larry is talking about Donald Trump attempting to use the nuclear codes. Donald Trump has completely lost it, you guys. There have been reports that they locked him out of the Situation Room. They do not want him to be involved. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that, and then we'll do the other stories. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. My special guest is Larry Johnson. You have seen him here before. He is a former CIA analyst. Welcome back, Larry.
Hey, glad to be back. Thank you for the invite.
So I got to get started with, there is a viral clip of you going around on X, formerly known as Twitter. You were recently on Judge Napolitano's show talking about, of course, the Iran war, and we have other updates to get into that have happened in the past 24 hours. But in this clip, you mentioned that Donald Trump apparently was considering using nuclear codes. There is an article that was released yesterday that also said that Donald Trump had been blocked from the Situation Room. Mm-hmm. So I want to give you an opportunity to expand on that a little bit more to find out what exactly is happening there with Donald Trump.
Sure. So Trump has been exhibiting increasingly erratic behavior since last fall. That according to Robert Barnes, and Robert has been well plugged into the Trump White House. I received information from someone I consider reliable. I didn't have any way to independently verify it, but was told that there had been this encounter. I don't want to call it a confrontation, but probably the best way to characterize it was Trump brought up using a nuclear weapon, and General Kane basically said, no, that's not happening. And again, this comes in the context of Donald Trump having, just a couple of days before that, talked about ending the civilization of Iran. Now, regular bombs are not civilization enders. Nuclear weapons are. And so that's where I felt that this was not just something that somebody was making up. It fit within the pattern. And then when the report emerged that on the this is a couple of weeks back, it's all of this in sort of the same time frame, when they were doing the rescue of the special weapons officer, the backseat guy from the F-15 that went down, they wouldn't let Donald Trump in the Situation Room because they were afraid he was going to interfere, he was going to issue orders, and they just, kept him out. So, it appears that Donald Trump is not the Donald Trump that was there 8 years ago. And part of what we see in that is his volatile temper and his attacks on people that have been longtime supporters of his. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Alex Jones, then Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Riley Gaines, the Pope. We go down the list. It's like he when he calls these people out, it's not like saying, well, so-and-so said such and such and believes such and such, and I disagree with that because, it's not any reasoning. It's low IQ, you're stupid. These are the kind of insults that, anybody that's been around 11-year-old, 12-year-old kids know that they do, and you have to correct them and say, grow up. But here's Donald Trump behaving that way. So, he is exhibiting these characteristics, lack of emotional control. And we saw that as well with, when you tried to define what his policy was towards the Strait of Hormuz, well, you felt like you're watching a Wimbledon tennis match on high speed, back, forth, back. He was on all sides of it. To, well, we don't care, let us stay closed, to let the Europeans open it, to, open the, and he throws down the F-bomb to the Iranians, open the strait, you crazy, and he goes on. And then he says, it's got to be open. And then he imposes a blockade, which shuts it, and then bragged today, yeah, we've got it shut. So which is it? You want it open? You want it closed? You don't care? Well, he's taken every single one of those positions, and then he confabulates. Confabulation is when he says something that he believes is true, like today. There are U.S. minesweepers sweeping the mines out of the Strait of Hormuz. No, there are not. There are no minesweepers there, because if they were there, they'd be getting shot at by the Iranians. because the Iranians said any ship that comes in here that's U.S. flagged, we're going to shoot it. So Trump's erratic behavior is eliciting growing concern among his staff and such. When you're dealing with a narcissist, it's one thing, because a narcissist can never admit they're wrong. But boy, when you're dealing with a pathological narcissist with potential early dementia, holy smokes! That's like playing Russian roulette with a gun that's loaded with five pieces of ammunition, not just one.
Yeah. Well, people have been pushing back on him. There have been multiple reports about that. And I want to show people what just happened recently, because I think this is the big bombshell in the past 24 hours. For those who are not aware, Midas Touch reported this, that there seems to be a military purge. The latest victim here is Navy Secretary John C. Fallon. Apparently has been fired effectively, immediately, and they already have they already have his replacement here, which is Hung Chow. He's going to take over as acting secretary. That's the guy here next to Donald Trump in the second picture. But to have the Navy secretary be removed during a time when we're definitely, in this conflict in the Middle East, it does not make any sense to me. Do you think John Fallon said something to Donald Trump and that's why he's out of there?
No. Actually, what I understand is it's Danny Davis had pretty good information from a friend inside who was familiar with some of the dynamics. This is more of just a personality cult battle between Pete Hegseth and Fallon. Hegseth is not only insecure and incompetent, but he was he definitely felt threatened by Fallon. Fallon apparently had Trump's direct number and would frequently call and talk to Trump. And Hegseth, a good boss would have said, "Hey, that's great," because Fallon was proposing to Trump ways to upgrade the Navy. And instead of Hegseth saying, "Hey, that's terrific. What, any way I can help reinforce that message, be a team player and embrace what people who work under you, what they do to promote them." Not Hegseth, man. He's got to be the top dog. That is what's dangerous. So, Fallon's out. They brought in Hung Chow. Chow is a two-time failed congressional candidate from Northern Virginia. He had a good military career, but this is just the musical chairs at the Pentagon at this time. They're not being made for, if you will, strategic reasons of national security. How do we improve or enhance U.S. national security? This is all about how do we make sure that Pete Hegseth is happy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this makes a lot of sense. High turnover is never good, I'd say, in any industry, but people are noticing and they're calling it out. And another thing that just came out recently, as much as like Donald Trump has said that Iran has almost no weapons left, and Pete Hegseth has said this as well, it was just reported that the United States is actually low on weapons, which I guess if we do the math, that would make sense, because we've been giving weapons to Ukraine for the past couple of years. We've been giving weapons to Israel as well. And then also, of course, the U.S. has been fighting its own wars here against like Iran, and then also going into Venezuela. They've been bombing boats in the Caribbean. But it sounds like we're the ones that are low on weapons.
Yeah, exactly right. I'd love to do one of those AI videos where Xi Jinping sitting there in the movie theater watching this war watching the war unfold with Iran and the United States, and Vladimir Putin walks in with an extra bag of popcorn, and they're just sitting there with the popcorn watching, because the United States is using up its inventory of Tomahawk missiles, of JASSM, JASSM missiles. Those are Joint Air Surface Strike missiles. I think that's what the acronym stands for. They are fired from a distance up to 500 miles. JDAMs, they have a shorter range. and then the Patriot missile, PAC-3, air defense, the THAAD missile, air defense. We have virtually depleted the two air defense missiles, the PAC-3s and the THAADs. The Tomahawks, they're running low on those, they're running low on JASSMs. If the war goes hot again and the United States starts using those weapon systems up, we don't have the industrial infrastructure in place to remake them, to replace them. And we got problems with supply chains. So when we use them up, they're gone. And that's why China's sitting there going, this is sweet. I mean, United States is, throwing everything it's got at Iran, and Iran's holding its own. We'll just keep supporting Iran, let the United States, punch itself out. In this sense, Iran gets to be Muhammad Ali, and the United States is Joe Frazier and getting, the rope-a-dope treatment. We're punching and wearing himself out. That's what the United States is doing. It's depleting its resources and can't replace them. So that report, and that was CNN. Now, I imagine Trump's going to call that fake news, but then people say, well, wait a second. CNN said you had 100% approval rating among the MAGA crowd. Now, which is it? Fake news or not?
Exactly. So how does it work? Because then I know some people are going to wonder, well, couldn't the U.S. just quickly make the weapons that they need? But you mentioned something about the supply chain. Is that supply chain impacted because of the closure in the Strait of Hormuz, or because of other issues?
More because China, those weapon systems require some what are called rare earth minerals. China is holding those back. China controls those supply chains. China says, "Oh yeah, it's like." China's not that guy that gives you a gun and says, okay, here, I'm going to give you the ammunition so you can shoot me. No. They're not doing that. They recognize the United States got a gun. We've got the ammunition. We're just going to hang on to it. But they're also, these are expensive weapon systems. The one PAC-3 missile, I've seen two different prices for it. So the low end is $4 million. The upper end is $6 million. So think of that. You have to fire two of those against an inbound threat, whether it's a ballistic missile or a drone. Let's say you're going against a drone that's $50,000 and you're firing $12 million worth of missile at it. That seems a little excessive. The THAAD is even worse. The THAAD missile, it stands for Terminal High Altitude Aerial Defense. Those go for $13 million. Now, we make, on average now, we're making about 50, Lockheed Martin is making 50 PAC-3 missiles a month. But when you figure you're using up two at a time, that means they could handle 25 missile attacks. The THAAD, they're making that at a rate of about 9 a month. So, and it's just the nature of the production process, as well as some of the raw material shortage. So, the United States, it's not like we did in World War II, where when they flipped the switch and started, turning factories that had been making cars into making planes, they were building a full airplane in like 2 hours. Just unbelievable pace. The same turning out tanks and trucks and just all sorts of equipment back in World War II. We don't have that capability anymore.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed. It makes me wonder. Professor Morandi recently said that this war is going to likely restart because there seems not to be a conclusion or an agreement that satisfies, of course, both sides. J.D. Vance was supposed to go to Islamabad yet again for some type of negotiation, which I don't feel is a real negotiation because Iran has been very clear about their demands, and the U.S. and Israel started this war. What do you think is going to happen from here? I feel like Donald Trump basically got himself stuck and he doesn't know how to get out.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to characterize it. That's exactly what has happened. He was promised that this was going to be a quick in and out. All we got to do is knock off the top leadership and then they will collapse. They'll go away. and the country will rise up and impose a new government. Well, that's not what happened. And so the week now is by March 10th, Donald Trump and his team are going to the Pakistanis pleading, talk to the Iranians, please tell them we want to talk. We got to have a negotiated solution. And finally, the Iranians responded ultimately with a 10-point plan back on April 7th, I believe. And just, okay, you want to talk? Do these things, lift the sanctions, release our money, get your military forces out of the region, get the ceasefire underway in Lebanon and the West Bank and Gaza, stop killing Palestinians. They had initial agreement on that, and then Trump backed away from it under pressure from Israel. So then they agreed to this 2-week ceasefire, and Iran's quite content to hold the they're going to keep the ceasefire. They're not going to fire first. They're not going to strike first. And then Tuesday we had, we called it Taco Tuesday. Trump's Taco Tuesday. How's that for some alliteration? Taco meaning Trump always chickens out. And, he had vowed he was going to, we're going to really bomb you like you've never been bombed before. And then, never mind, we're going to extend the ceasefire. Now it's either described as 3 to 5 days, meaning that it'll be up on Sunday, or it's described as indefinite by Carolyn Levitt. So who do you believe? Take your pick. Trump doesn't have any good military option. That's his problem. There is no viable ground strategy. In other words, putting troops in on the ground. Biggest problem is, one, we don't have them. Two, if we had them, where are you going to assemble them so they don't get killed by incoming ballistic missiles and drones before they even launch an attack? And three, once they launch the attack, how do you get them to the attack point? Right. During in 2003, during our invasion of Iraq, we assembled 165,000 troops in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. They're near the border. They're all ready to go. Saddam didn't have, he had some Scud missiles, but they were really not very good. And he didn't really fire those with any kind of intensity at the U.S. So that would be a problem, that if we tried to assemble even 50,000 troops in one location, Iran would take them out. There would be significant casualties. So I think we picked up from Trump today what might be his escape plan. And he talked about, if he can get a guarantee from Iran that they'll never, ever build a nuclear weapon, and that would be accompanied by inspections of Iran's nuclear sites, that might give Trump the out he needs to walk away. Because if he goes in and tries to renew fighting, this is going to be devastating for both the United States and for Israel.
But Iran already said before they weren't building a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. Well, and we actually have evidence, historical evidence, that when Iran says something like that, they mean it. Back in 1980, September of 1980, Iraq, with the encouragement of the CIA, and the CIA was working with the Gulf Arabs to help fund Iraq's war against Iran, Iraq attacked Iran. Then under Ronald Reagan, the Reagan administration provided Saddam Hussein and his forces with the precursor chemicals that were used to make chemical weapons, and Iraq used chemical weapons 20 different times on Iran. Never during that 8-year period that went from 1980 to 9-year period, 80 to 88. Never during that entire period did Iran seek to acquire or build chemical weapons. They could have. They would have said, hey, you used it on us, we're going to use it on you, tit for tat. They didn't do that. And the reason they didn't do that is they said it was a sin against God in their view. So they applied the same logic to nuclear weapons, that it is a sin against God. I think, hey, there's a refreshing idea. Somebody so deeply believes in God that they actually act in a way that you think God would want them to act.
No, it's true. I think that people need to see. I want to show people what Donald Trump has been saying in the past 24 hours. This is really wild. Trump's morning post: "Let's kill Iranians who don't want a deal. I'm ordering the Navy to shoot any boat putting mines in the strait. We actually have full control over the strait. I don't need a deal." So it's all over the place. Here's because Mark Thiessen has been sharing this one here. I guess Donald Trump reposted that. "Let's kill the ones who don't want a deal." Here's another one: "I have ordered the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats, though they may be, that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. There is to be no hesitation." So that's the minesweepers that you were talking about there. Yeah. He goes on to say Iran is having a very hard time figuring out who their leader is. They don't know. The infighting is between the hardliners who've been losing badly in the battlefield and the moderates. Like this is crazy stuff.
Yeah. No, it's unhinged because this notion that there's a big split between the Iranian leadership. So the new Mojtaba Khamenei, the new Ayatollah, when he was 17 years old, he enlisted in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps in the battle against Iraq. This was 1987 through 1988. He fought in at least 4 major battles. Well, the head of the legislature, I forget his name, is Ghaffali, something like that. He also was in the IRGC about the same time as the Ayatollah. So I don't know if they knew each other, but they both came out of a shared combat experience, as does the current head of the IRGC. We've not seen a single comment from the non-military guys like Arachi, the foreign minister, or Pezeshkian, the president, that have contradicted or said anything different from what the IRGC and these other men have been saying. So, and I raised the IRGC, the boundaries, the fact that the head of the legislature in Iran is a former member of it. And now the new supreme leader of Iran is a former member, that these bonds were forged in combat. And I think you've had the experience of knowing men and women who have been in combat situations. They develop a bond among that lasts for life. It's really a deep bond of friendship because you've both experienced, great horrors and great terrors. So we're actually right now, Iran probably has the strongest leadership for both political and military that it's ever had. It's simply because these guys who, when they're, 40 years ago, when they were 17, 18 years old, they're now 57, 58, 59, 60. So they're mature adults. They've got that life experience. They know each other. They know they can trust one another. So this notion that there's this great division, it's a fairy tale made up by someone out of my old outfit, the CIA.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see some of this desperation to find ways, I guess, to still convince Americans that Iran is like this big bad country because of these allegations recently. So this is absolutely insane. And Caroline Levitt actually went on to Fox News to repeat this bold lie for those who are not aware. Donald Trump claimed that he just saved 8 women in Iran from being executed. You guys have got to see this, and I'll tell you about those women.
Well, first of all, Martha, only President Trump could save the lives of these 8 beautiful Iranian women who he has received direct word from the Iranian regime, or what's left of it, that their lives are going to be spared. And that comes as a result of President Trump asking them directly not to kill these young, beautiful women who certainly deserve a chance to continue living their lives freely and peacefully. And now that will happen thanks to President Trump because he's a humanitarian at heart. I understand.
So Larry, these women, those aren't even real. It's AI.
Yeah. Well, he thought, hey, I got some new guests for Epstein Island. So we'll, I mean, it's absurd. Look, the lies that are being told to the American people, and let me take you through, because I did the research on this last night, and frankly I was surprised it was so low. And anybody can do it at home. Pick your favorite AI engine, Perplexity, Grok, Claude, App or Chat GPT. Pick whatever one you want. Type in how many Americans have been killed by Hamas, because the idea is Iran's a state sponsor of terrorism. It sponsors these proxy groups. Type that in. The number I got was 56. That's what came back from Grok. Then ask the question, how many have Hezbollah killed? Well, that number is up at 200, and I think it was 268. So roughly, let's call it 270 plus 60. That's 330. That's less than 400. And then add in the how many did let's call them Shia proxy groups in Iraq during the U.S. invasion. How many American soldiers or civilians did they kill? And that number is 663. So basically, we're looking at over 47 years, Iranian proxies have killed a grand total of around 1,000 Americans. I don't want to minimize that and pretend that that's nothing. However, let's use the same standard that if you provide weapons, if you provide money, if you provide intelligence to somebody that carries out an act of violence, then you're complicit in that violence. So the United States did that with Saddam Hussein. And was thanks to Saddam Hussein's war, killed 300,000 Iranian soldiers and 70,000 civilians. Big difference between 370,000 and 1,000. And we call Iran the murderous regime. Sorry, we got buckets of blood on our hands, and I haven't even begun to talk about the U.S. continued support for a terrorist group called the MEK that has killed hundreds in Iran today, still today. So that's where, but this is this big lie that's been sold to the Americans. Iran's this major sponsor of terrorism, and we got to stop them.
But see, and that's the other thing too, when it comes to Saddam Hussein, like they were totally fine with him back then, but then later on, we don't need you anymore. We can't use you anymore. Correct. Then they turned on Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, he wanted to be his own man. And I admit, the history I'm telling you now, I was not aware of back then. I don't know if I was lazy. But I bought into some of it, but I also knew that he didn't have weapons of mass destruction, but nobody was making the point back there that I remember to point out, we're the ones that gave him the damn things. They were our weapons, not his. So that's why I say I look at this with where we got deliberate manipulation of the American people, getting gaslit, getting lied to. And, sadly, Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He is suffering memory lapses, and then he indulges in lies that he embraces as truth. And also we can't discount that he may be actually deliberately lied to by the CIA or others.
When you said that he was told that this would be a quick in and out, this war with Iran or this regime change that he wanted to accomplish here, who gave him that information? Who told him that? Was that, you think, Pete Hegseth or the CIA?
Bibi Netanyahu with Pete Hegseth saying, yeah, he's right. Now, what's interesting is, according to the New York Times, Marco Rubio said, and John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, all said, no, Bibi may be smoking some hallucinogenic material. They poo-pooed it. J.D. Vance was against it. Susie Wiles, in this one article with the New York Times interviewed, claimed that she also opposed it. So it was Trump with Hegseth egging him on, and based upon what it wasn't just Bibi Netanyahu. It was the head of Mossad, David Barnea, that had come in and told him, oh yeah, once we take out the upper level, the people will rise up and there'll be regime change. Didn't happen.
There's a reason why no other president did this.
Correct.
Like they, this is common sense. But other things that have been happening in the Middle East as well. Some people may not be aware, but there was a journalist, a Lebanese journalist. Her name was Amal Khalil. She was killed. She was found under the rubble in Al Tiri, South Lebanon. You guys know Israel has been carpet bombing South Lebanon, and this is another one with the journalists, and we've seen this time and time again, where there are deliberate hits here. Like this isn't someone who just happened to be standing in the wrong spot at the wrong time. They usually target them, just like previous journalists where they've shot them in the neck, even when they have on like the headgear as well. So a journalist was just killed in Lebanon. And it's just, that's another thing when we go back to the ceasefire, which is the fact that that was part of that ceasefire, which that Israel was not going to fire on southern Lebanon. Yeah.
Well, and then that journalist, she's also accompanied by another woman named Zainab. I know a different Zainab who's a journalist over there. It wasn't the same one, but you know, Israel's killing of them, and then coupled with the desecration of a statue of Jesus Christ on the cross, that one Israeli soldier, clubbing Jesus, if you will. I called it, I said, there's a Jew beating up a Jew with a sledgehammer. I mean, Jesus was a Jew. And so was this an anti-Semitic act? If we're going to apply the standard, let's apply it fairly. But
if you'll notice, where's Mike Huckabee on that?
Yeah, missing in action. Go to the milk carton, look for Mike's picture. He'll be on it. Tucker Carlson did quite a passionate presentation last night on his network. Hopefully it'll be posted to YouTube today. But he talked about the Zionist hatred of Christians and the fact that we've got so many Zionist Christian ministers who are enabling the Zionist attack on Christians. And so it was really now Bibi Netanyahu's not really a religious guy. He's the ultimate opportunist. But even he realized how bad this was, because they moved pretty quickly to say, "Oh, well, we're going to lock the soldiers up that did this, and all this is terror." Still, Israel's a great place for Christians to come, and no, it's not. When you see the videos of them getting Christians being spat upon, the destruction. One of the things Tucker showed was just the destruction of Christian symbols by these IDF soldiers. So it's the whole worm of the propaganda is turned against Israel dramatically. So, and
yeah, and it's not even just I haven't seen that episode by Tucker Carlson yet, but I did see the one recently where it was him and his brother, who he looks just alike, by the way.
Yeah, Buckley.
That was eerie.
Yeah,
just alike. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's reassuring, at least to the father, because the mother wasn't out with someone else, like the mailman.
No, but I saw that he was saying that, he regrets, supporting Trump, and he regrets like helping him like get elected. And some people will look at it and they'll be like, oh well, he's just saying that now or whatever, just for shits and giggles or whatever. But I really do feel like from what I saw, it does look like he has some real regret.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go back and change the past, but I do appreciate the fact that people like him, like they are speaking out and saying, whoa, shouldn't have done that one.
Yeah, where you can at least come out and say, hey, I was wrong. I was wrong. I made a mistake. And I'm sorry. And he was genuinely repentant of that. We're in a crisis situation where, Donald Trump it's one thing to be a narcissist. Most of the presidents we've had, at least over the last 50 years, they've been narcissists. It just, sort of comes with the territory. But boy, when you have a narcissist that's suffering the kind of mental impairment that Trump is, that's dangerous, because he says things that aren't true, and he doesn't have enough critical thinking or self-awareness to realize what he's saying is not true. And he's got himself convinced to believe that it is true. And so, that's a real recipe for some disaster.
I noticed this with Joe Biden too, towards the end of his presidential term. Similar thing where he had convinced himself that, like, for example, they told him by the Democrat leadership, like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they had a meeting of words with him, and they told him that the internal polling was showing that they told him, you can't win. There's no way you're going to win. And he didn't believe it. And even after, like, Trump won in 2024, he still didn't believe it, that there was no way he wasn't going to win. I believe if Biden would have stayed in the race, he would have lost too.
Right.
Because, the genocide was a big factor. The uncommitted votes do show that. But one of the more wild things is that recently, just on Face the Nation, there was a gentleman on there who worked with the Biden administration, and he was questioned about the Iran war. And he said, and everybody listen to this, he said that Biden was prepared to strike Iran too. So he was ready to go to war with Iran.
Well,
for Israel.
Well, yeah. Remember, Biden, he was of all the members of Congress that had received money from the AIPAC, he had received the most. He was actually one of the biggest recipients of funds from the Zionist supporters. So, not surprising. Israel brags, we got the best Congress money can buy.
Yeah. I mean, it really says a lot, because I want to show people too, because I don't want to forget. I don't want people to forget about Gaza or the West Bank, because even right now, I just want to show you guys what else Israel is still doing. This one, I think, is one of the more moving ones I saw recently today. Israeli occupiers put up a barbed wire fence to block Palestinian children from getting to school, and these brave children refused to back down. Open the road, open the road. Children should not have to protest just to get to school in the occupation-free Palestine. And I'll show the video here. There's the barbed wire right there. So you guys see, and here's the thing. So that's the West Bank. It's not just Gaza, it's also the West Bank. So now they're trying to stop these kids from going to school. This is what Israel is.
Yeah. And a lot of those kids, I imagine, are Christian. I mean, they're Christian kids. Not that matters. It shouldn't matter whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish. There's a right way to treat human beings, and there's a wrong way. And Israel is a major human rights abuser, unfortunately.
That's right. And then it leads me to this question as well. They are calling for the evacuation, and this is in Lebanon. So this came from the U.S. State Department. Al Jazeera was announcing this, that the U.S. State Department is urging all U.S. citizens to leave Lebanon while commercial flight options remain available. So that's coming from the U.S. State Department, which means that, yet again, like, they're about to continue. They're going to bomb Lebanon again pretty heavily. Yeah, no, that's exactly what that means. I mean, when I was at state, I was involved with releasing warnings like that. And that means the U.S. has intelligence that Israel is going to attack again and will attack civilian areas. So, we know what's coming down. We're not imagining this. We know it. And that's why that warning went out. In fact, the Office of the Coordinator for Counterterrorism, right after the bombing of Pan Am 103, there was really a lot of concern that the U.S. government had intelligence about that impending attack, and that we'd kept it back, or we'd only told State Department people, here, get on a plane and get out, or don't get on that plane. And that wasn't the case. But out of that, the policy was developed that if you have credible information and that you cannot counter what's going to come,
then you got to issue a warning so people can get the hell out. And so that's what that means.
That's crazy. What are the chances? One more for you here, Larry. I know I've been talking a lot about IRGC, Iran, etc. When it comes to Hezbollah, what happens here? Because Israel already showed, and they said that they were going to destroy Hamas. That obviously did not happen. And now they're trying to convince people that they're going to destroy Hezbollah, which, from what I understand, Hezbollah is also a part of the government
Right.
in Lebanon. And there's some people that are part of the government in Lebanon that are kind of traitors, have turned their back on Hezbollah and says we should let Israel come in and have regime change. Well, what do you think happens there?
Yeah, Hezbollah is a far more formidable, powerful organization than Hamas. And you're correct in saying, look, Hamas has beaten the odds against all odds. They have stood up against a massive Israeli army and fought them to a standstill. Hezbollah is even more. They're not a military outfit. They are a full packaged political entity. They provide social services. They provide medical services. They provide educational services. They provide care for the elderly, and they've also got a military component. They are a government within a government in Lebanon that makes sure that the Shia Muslims are taken care of. The U.S. efforts right now is to try to galvanize the Christians, the Christian government in Beirut, to go after and basically attack Hezbollah from the rear. I don't think that will happen. They're not going to succeed in that. So the Israelis, they've bitten off more than they can chew. And my understanding is today they suffered a large number of casualties today. That's being reported on another channel. So this is, unfortunately, this war is not ending anytime soon. The only hope we have is that if the war restarts, Iran will be able to deliver enough damage that Israel will be weakened to a point that it won't ever dare try something like this again.
Larry, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for making the time. I know it was last minute, so thanks so much.
Well, I'm always honored by the invitation and appreciate your generous offer to let me chat. Thanks, Sabby.
Hey, guys, this was a Sabby. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into that. Like I said, Larry, I had to record with him earlier because he couldn't make it for 8 o'clock tonight. But I hope you learned something from that conversation, because there's some crazy things going on in the White House right now. And I think pay close attention, because I think Tulsi Gabbard might be on her way out. Kash Patel might be on his way out. Give it time. Wait and see. Wait and see. Give it time. Because it seems like anybody that disagrees with Trump or pushes back on him in any way, shape, or form, they're just donezo. Donezo. So I don't know, guys. Pay close attention to everything that's going on. All right. Tonight's theme again is Fool Me Once. Fool Me Once, ladies and gents. Let's go to some of the comments here and then we'll get to the next story. And I think some people may have been fooled by this one, the Trump assassination attempt. Now people are starting to push back against it. So we're going to get into that one next. Red Cowboy says JFK assassination in Butler, Charlie Kirk, fool me only once. Red Cowboy knows what's up. Thank you for the super chat. Logically Dashing. Hegseth should have been fired after Signalgate. Yes. Yes. All of them. And thank you, Conversation Peace. Tucker has no regrets. He's scared. Like a lot of others, this may be that one time that we see war in this land. I don't think it'll get to this side of the globe. But people are dying. I mean, American soldiers have already died, like, because of it, Thank you for the Rumble rant. Nocturnal Human. Loomer told Candace, I want to play a game, then rode away on her tricycle. Oh my God, because they call her Jigsaw, you guys. Thank you, Active Guardian. Alex Karp is not an evil little man. He's over 6 feet tall. You have been swayed by highest oppressors, Sabby. And thank you for this one. Yesterday on the Jimmy Dore show, some guy named Buzz Patterson denied that Trump went psycho with nuclear code claims. I tend to believe Mr. Johnson. Well, I don't think we're getting the full scale of everything that Trump is doing. Like, I honestly, I would love to be a fly on that wall because it's probably bonkers in there. Thank you for this one as well. What? They got special robots that can tell whether an Iranian citizen likes Trump or not, and then kill the ones who don't. I thought they were reserving those robots for us here at home. They're everywhere. Everywhere. All right, ladies and gents, if you haven't done so, do me a solid and smash that like button. And we're going to keep it moving and grooving to the next story. Again, the theme is Fool Me Once. And I think many were fooled with this one. You know, some people who supported Donald Trump are now starting to look back at other things like that assassination attempt. After the release of the Epstein files, people started to ask questions like, there's a cover up here. There's a cover up with Charlie Kirk's death. Could it be possible that there was a cover up with the Trump assassination attempt? Now, one of the things I paid very close attention to back then was that all of a sudden that story just disappeared. Like, you had someone allegedly try to assassinate a presidential candidate. He was still a candidate at that time. And all of a sudden, after Donald Trump appeared at the Republican convention and he had the bandage on his ear, next thing you knew, this was just out of the news. And that's because the accused was killed that same day. One of the things I brought up recently is that with the Tyler Robinson situation, it is very clear that Tyler Robinson apparently wasn't supposed to survive that day. And he did. And now you see there's an actual trial that is going to happen. And more people are asking questions. A lot of us have been asking questions. And we just don't believe that Tyler Robinson is the actual shooter, that he actually killed Charlie Kirk. But with the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt, that alleged suspect was killed. And it was just really weird to me. Trump is not one to let things go. Trump still talks about the 2020 presidential election. Someone tries to assassinate you and you don't want to talk about that. You just let it go. So one of the people that did support Donald Trump was Tim Dillon. I always forget his last name. I don't know why. Tim Dillon. And Tim Dillon is now also looking into this. We're going to look into this along with him. Some other things that I got to tell you about as well. Listen to what Tim Dillon said here. He's a comedian, by the way. So he pokes fun at things as well as he talks about the news. But listen to this.
You know, the press went wild about the assassination attempt thing I said in Butler. They're reporting it everywhere. And I'm like, well, number one, Joe Kent said it. He didn't say it was staged, but he said there's things about the assassination we don't know. And he said I wasn't allowed to investigate it. And he was like the deputy director he was the intelligence chief, the deputy czar of whatever the fuck these things are. And he was told you can't investigate it. Kash Patel's FBI said you're not allowed to continue to investigate the Butler shooting.
And where else have we heard that remark? Didn't they also say that about the Charlie Kirk thing? They said, that's it. This is open shut. That's the guy. Tyler Robinson is the one that did this. That's it. He's going to jail. It is what it is. Stop looking into this. Sound familiar?
Trump shut down the investigation. The administration shut it down. Kent was like, I was also blocked from investigating Charlie Kirk. Now, does Joe Kent want to run for political office? Obviously. Does he want to be the president? Yeah. Sure. Does he look at Vance's weakness and go, I can get in there? And then he looks at Rubio and he goes, well, the neocons are going to throw all the money to Rubio. And Joe Kent goes, I got a sharp jaw. He's got that jaw. He's got that look-smacking jaw. Tell me Joe Kent doesn't look like Clavicular's dad, like he grew up. Joe Kent, get up Joe Kent, and then get up Clavicular. And Joe Kent, they look kind of similar. Like Joe Kent looks like the older version of Clavicular because he has that jaw. very shapely. What's the term for that? And why am I not saying it when someone has a real cut jaw like that? Well, anyway, Joe Kent, he looks like a guy that would be president. So he wants to be the president. No, that's another.
Now, I could see Joe Kent possibly choosing to run for a political office. I could absolutely see that 100%. I could see that. But, put that aside for just a second. When we get to the actual footage, again, there's something that was pointed out here that I never paid attention to before. So let's go on a little bit more.
But does that mean that he's making it up? Does that mean that Joe Kent's lying? I don't know. If he was lying, I feel like they would charge him with something. But he hasn't been charged with anything. So he's just coming out and he's saying these things. And then I, on my show, say what he said. They leave him out and they come at me. And my whole thing is this. And I'm not going to, I did it last week, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just saying, if Trump said I staged my own assassination attempt, I would not be angry. I would laugh. It would bring back some levity into this fucking goddamn world. It would be fun and silly. And if he sat down with Barry Weiss on CBS or whoever, Tony Dokapol or whatever, and explained how he did this, we would be riveted and we would be back to fun.
So that's an interesting point there. He brings up the Joe Kent situation, just another thing that Joe Kent wanted to look into a little bit further. And Trump and the FBI said, nope, we're all good here. We're not talking about someone, being shot, like just walking down the street and it's an average, Joe Schmo person. We're talking about an assassination attempt on the president of the United States. And it was very weird to me how all of a sudden that story just disappeared just like that. Then when we looked a little bit deeper, we found that the kid, who he looked like a kid to me, the kid that was accused of shooting Donald Trump, we found out that he had been in a BlackRock commercial. I don't know, could have just been a coincidence, but it just seemed a little strange. Now he goes on and gets to this part here about whether or not it was a stage. Check this out.
Let's take a look again. Butler, Pennsylvania.
It's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
So we have to pause this part and go to this part.
Now, a lot of people say that when he gets up here, that the fact that he gets up and that they move very slowly and he goes, wait, and he comes back and they do the photo op. A lot of people are saying that's evidence. I'm not saying this, by the way. People are saying it's like letting him up like that when they don't know if there's another shooter.
That part right there. When this happened, I didn't think about that at that point in time. But how did they know that it was safe to tell him to get back up? How did they know? Because within that short time period, the accused shooter wasn't killed yet. How did they know that there were no other people around that could have been a shooter as well? You don't know. If any of you have ever gone through those active shooter drills, I had to do them at work. I hear nowadays people have to do it at school, which is pretty sad when you think about it. But I had to do it at work. One of the things that they teach you in the active shooter drills is if you hear gunshots, get down. Don't try to run because you could run into the shooter, but get down. If there's somewhere where you can hide, like a closet or whatever, hide in the room where you're in, but you get down and you stay down. That's what they teach you. I would imagine it would be no different for the president of the United States. But they let him get back up just like that. How did they know it was safe to do so? How did they know that the coast was clear? I didn't think about that at that time. A little bit more here.
A lot of people are saying maybe it's a staged assassination. I'm saying I don't care if it is. I think it was very well done. No, I mean, truly. I'm saying I don't care. That is important for our country, whether it was real or fake. It is the moment where George W. Bush stood into the rubble of 9/11, which they also might have done, and with the bullhorn said, "I hear you. People around the world hear you, and the people who brought these buildings down are going to hear from all of us soon." These are important moments in our country, whether they are real or fake.
Now, I want to say something here, right? Kyrie Irving, he had a video a couple weeks ago, and he said, the world is a stage. And even some of the things that we were taught about history as years have gone by, we found out that we were taught incorrect information. That's why I say question everything. The world is a stage. He was literally on a stage, but the world is a stage. Don't you guys find it a little bit strange looking back on it now? And we'll get a close up of this in just a second. There were photographers right there coming up to the front of the stage as Donald Trump got back up and put his fist in the air. That's how that picture was captured. How did they know that it was safe for photographers to stand up and take those pictures? How did they know that? Active shooter drill, get on the ground, stay on the ground until they tell you that the coast is clear. It's all coming back to me now. I'm like Celine Dion. It's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now.
Not every historic moment is going to be real. And if you think it is or has to be, you have an overly simplistic understanding of history. It was important, that moment when he said, fight, fight, fight. It was important. And this, look at the people here. Does it matter if it's real?
Again, nobody seems to be afraid. Anybody find this weird? Nobody seems to be afraid. If, and the way that I was raised, especially if you hear gunshots, duck down, duck down, get out, duck down, for one. But everybody just stands up chanting, and you don't know at that time if there were multiple shooters. You don't know if there could have been a shooter right there in the crowd. And they just happened to capture the perfect picture.
Does it matter if it's real? Does it matter if it's real? It's so emotional, and to me, do you think people would be angry if you just said we staged it?
I mean, some people would.
I think most people would. But here's the problem. I wouldn't. Does that make me crazy that I wouldn't? Does that make me, it does, huh?
Yeah.
It makes me I tell you right now, I'm not even kidding. I am not kidding. If he said we staged this whole thing, I would laugh. I would not be mad. I'm mad about Iran. I'm mad that we've gotten American servicemen, and I think just men, but I always say men and women. And if women got killed, I am sorry. The fact that anyone is dying for this war, I'm completely against. That makes me angry. It makes me angry that we've done this. It makes me angry that we're still giving Israel military aid. It makes me angry. But if he just came out and said, by the way, we rehearsed that. We staged it. It was a production. I'm personally not angry. I don't know what that says about me. I laugh. And you know what it is?
Tim's a comedian, but you guys get the gist of it. So let me ask you a question, because I want to make a comparison here. When Charlie Kirk was shot, what happened to the crowd? You go back and you see that video when Charlie Kirk was shot, what happened to the crowd? People started running, didn't they? Okay. So when we go back to this picture, And we're going to give a shout out to James Lee as well, because James Lee did a really good vid of this. When you go back and you look at this picture, these pictures, right? Don't you guys find it a little too convenient that the photographers felt safe? Trump felt okay to just stand up and put his fists up in the air? Then he went right to the Republican convention and he put this bandage on his ear. By the way, his ear looks fine to me. Have you seen his ear? His ear looks fine to me. So you get this picture because photographers ran over to capture it. Again, if the president was just shot at, wouldn't your first instinct be, let me duck, let me protect myself? I don't want to get shot. Again, you don't know how many shooters there are. How would you feel that safe to just walk up to the stage and take a picture? And I'm going to show you the close-up in just a second. How would you feel that safe? Someone already said it. And thank you, Andre. Or not Andre, not that one. I'll come back to you, Andre. It's this one, N3. At this time, Harris was actually close to Trump in the polls at this time. After the shooting, Trump surged to victory. Remember when for those of you who've been rocking with me for a while, remember when I covered this story when it broke? And I told you that just helped Trump win the election. They were close. They were still close in the polls right before this. Now, according to her team, internal polling showed that she was never ahead of him. And they said that when they saw like polls on CNN, they were confused because they said their internal polling never showed that she was ahead of him in any state. Interesting, huh? Now, we're going to go to this video here by James Lee. James been doing a pretty good job of this. And he gets to the close-up here. I want to show you guys. Watch this.
I don't know why this has never fully crossed my mind, but this picture is just too good to be true.
The president's been shot. Oh, no. No. Either that or they're covering. We don't know. Either that or they're covering him. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you. We love you, President Trump.
Right there. You see the photographers coming right up to the stage? Again, you at this point, you still have no idea if there's any other shooter around. You don't know if the coast is clear or not. The gunman wasn't even shot at this point. But they feel so safe to walk up to the stage and get this picture. He has the question here. Why are the cameramen being ushered in? Good question.
Thank you, Johnny. We love you. Yes.
You guys see it, right? Why does it look like the flag is being lowered into position just as photographers are being ushered in to take photographs? Right there, no flag, and now there's a flag. Let's look at it again. Okay, there's no flag. Trump has just gotten up from being shot, and now the photographers are being moved into position. At this point, the camera angle basically stabilizes position, and then now you see the flag coming into frame. No flag. And then photographers getting in position and then flag. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but something dark seems to be happening. Could Butler have been a stage event to communicate to Trump that he's under some kind of threat? Or was he maybe in on it to help him win the election? And once victorious, allow him to assume some kind of demonic role to usher in the end times, which he says he's not. He's just a humble Red Cross doctor with demons above his head. But seriously, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, what is going on? And this is something else to think about too. Do we even know that that blood was real? They have the little blood packets that you can just go psh, psh. I know, because the kids used to have them for Halloween. They used to have them, and you know, it's like the fake blood, like packets and stuff that you can just press on your skin, and it looks like, oh, I'm bleeding, like that type of thing. Like, how do you know? How do we know? Do we? When Trump ducked down, he ducked down behind that podium. What happened behind the podium? Someone mentioned something here. Outside In said, was there any blood on the way down, or did they apply blood back? See what I'm saying? Like they use in Hollywood. Little explosive splat in red colored bag, or applied it when he ducked into cover. That's what I'm wondering. I didn't see a picture, and if you've seen it, guys, let me know. But I haven't seen a picture when Donald Trump was, allegedly struck by that bullet, like grazed his ear or whatever. I didn't see blood coming from his ear at that point. I first saw it when he stood up. And honestly, given everything that's happened, the cover up the Epstein files, the cover up Charlie Kirk's murder, I honestly sit back and I say, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. What if the whole plan was to make it so that Trump would win, so that he could usher in this phase that Israel wants? Now, Kamala belongs to AIPAC too. Don't get it twisted. She was still pro-Israel too. But Donald Trump was willing to do this at a quicker speed. Look how quickly he went to war with Iran. Bibi was excited when I'm just have to stop calling him that. Netanyahu was excited when Donald Trump won. He was happy. These are all things to think about. I'm not telling you it's necessarily one way or the other, but I will say this: fool me once, because, I grew up being told that just some random guy killed MLK. I grew up being told that just some random guy in the audience killed Malcolm X. I grew up being told all these different things, whether it was Fred Hampton, etc. Now, I'm not saying Trump is any of these people. Don't get it twisted. But I grew up being taught those things. And it wasn't until I became an adult I started to find out the truth. And now they admit these things. But for years, they continue to deny that the FBI and the CIA were involved in killing these people. That's why I say fool me once. You know what? It would not surprise me if it was all staged. It really wouldn't. And that should make you think about a lot of things. Because when we look at the numbers now, this is important, because this is the number for independents that I want to focus on, because independents, they do tend to swing these elections one way or another. This is Donald Trump's job approval by party. Check this out.
31% of Republicans now disapprove of President Trump's behavior. That's a shocking number for someone who has commanded utter fealty from the GOP. Only 23% of independents do approve, and this all combined leaves you with a net approval rating overall of 33%. Just a dreadful number. 31% of Republicans now.
The number you want to pay attention to is independents. Only 23% approve, 76% disapprove, right? The party, for the most part, is going to stand by their politician. That's on both sides. However, in the past couple of presidential elections, it has been the independent vote that has really swung it in one direction or another. And independents really did show up to support Donald Trump in 2024. So he is losing them. Now, obviously, he cannot run again in 2028. So for him, he probably doesn't give a shit. He'll probably try to run again anyway, as crazy as he is. But it does say something about the Republican Party. If J.D. Vance were to run in 2028, which he most likely probably will, if he were to run, he's going to end up with the Kamala effect, which is the fact that even though he was not president, he was vice president. This is the same issue that Kamala Harris ran into. And so people will say, you weren't president, but you were still vice president and you agreed to a lot of these things that Donald Trump was doing. And that's what he may run into as well. So everybody sees it. The writing is on the wall. I honestly think even the kid that they said was the shooter, again, he's dead. So he can't talk. There's no trial. We don't even know if that kid was a patsy or not. We really don't know. Imagine if that had happened to Tyler Robinson, people wouldn't be asking as many questions. So I say question everything. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents, and we'll keep it moving and grooving to the next story. Hey, hey, hey. All right. I'm sorry, Aid. If I get this Celine Dion song stuck in my head, I'm blaming you, Sabby. I'm sorry. Celine was that girl back in the day. Don't deny it. I know some of you were rocking some Celine. Andre said, I thought about it when I first saw the video. The Secret Service are taught to put him down, cover him up, then pick him up and move him fast while he is bent over and covered by Secret Service. Interesting point. Thank you. Logically, Trump is a wrestling guy, and blading, term for bleeding oneself, is a common practice. All the world is a stage, more like a wrestling ring to me. That's right. I forget Donald Trump used to be on the WWE sometimes too. Thank you, the feminist. When it happened, I knew it was a setup to garner sympathy votes. That's it. That's all. It was a fix. Elon also admitted to rigging the election. Yeah, Elon's all over the place. Thank you. I am Mitch Snow, the real. Why don't you like to call him BB? Because it sounds kind of cutesy and he's not. Thank you, Leon. I hate to admit that I would not put it past Trump to stoop as low as to stage this incident. Yeah. B. Victoria said Trump never investigated who tried to kill him behind every bit of this assassination. I'm telling you guys, thank you. Logically, staging an assassination that killed someone, though. Good point. Thank you, MSB. Where's the medical report is my question. Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun. That's a good question. Where is it? Let's go ahead and get that Rumble rant, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for the Rumble rant, Mark. Hey, Sabby, if I were in middle and high school in the 90s, you should not have been taught those things. We knew better, and I'm pretty sure I taught them what the F really did happen, but before 8. Thank you so much for that. Interesting. Yeah, it shouldn't have been, but it happened, huh? It happened. Okay, let's get into this next story. You guys are not going to believe this. Again, we say, fool me once. Ghislaine Maxwell is asking for a pardon yet again. And to go on top of that, Ghislaine Maxwell has contacted the DOJ, and apparently she did so right after Melania Trump had that press conference about the Epstein files. The nerve of this woman. Now let's go back to a couple of months ago when Donald Trump was questioned whether or not he would consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. I want you to hear what he said at that point in time.
I today, Mr. President, and the Supreme Court is back in session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. But I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
He didn't know that it was rejected. He didn't even know she was asking for it. And they said, well, she was arrested for child sex trafficking. And his response was, I will just have to take a look at that. Well, that question is coming up yet again. I kid you not, this woman is relentless. And there appears to be certain members that are part of the oversight committee that are split on this decision. I'm not kidding. Absolutely insane. Check it out. Ghislaine Maxwell seeks to overturn conviction as U.S. lawmakers are split over possible pardon. Absolutely insane. I still go back to this picture of Ghislaine Maxwell here. As I said before, that doesn't even look like Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know if that was an enhanced image, but it looks like a fake. That looks like a fake. Even the nose looks different. So it goes on to say here that, let me make this a little bit bigger. Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of Epstein, is once again attempting to have her sex trafficking conviction thrown out, even as a political debate grows in Washington over whether she should be considered for a presidential pardon. She is serving 20 years in prison, and she has asked a federal judge in New York to vacate her conviction and release her from prison. This is according to fresh court filings. The renewed legal push comes amid continued scrutiny over the wider Epstein case and divisions within the U.S. House Oversight Committee over whether Maxwell should cooperate with lawmakers in exchange for clemency. Let me pause here for just a second. There are actually members in Congress that I might consider it, that are considering giving this woman a pardon. As much as they talk about being tough on crime, as much as they talk about, going after the criminals, they want to pardon this woman. I want to remind you, Ghislaine Maxwell was not just Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend. She was not just someone who went out and recruited the girls. She was also someone who participated in the assaults. That came directly from people like Virginia Giuffre, who reported that early on that Ghislaine Maxwell also participated. And you have Congress members out there right now. And, I think a lot of these people are blackmailed. I really do. You got Congress members out there right now that are considering wanting to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Absolutely insane. According to a report in ABC News, Maxwell has again petitioned the court to set aside her conviction for helping Epstein recruit and abuse underage girls. She was convicted in 2021 and sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2022. Her latest filing reportedly argues that legal errors and procedural issues justify overturning the verdict. Maxwell has previously sought appeals and retrials, but those efforts were unsuccessful. Let me show you the gotcha here, right? Legal errors and procedural issues. It's things like this that can get people off. Remember, when it came to Bill Cosby, the reason why Bill Cosby was released is because there was paperwork errors. When you go after people like that are part of like these large organized criminal networks, your paperwork has to be solid. It has to be tight, because little things like this, they can use in their favor to say, well, they messed up, so I should be released. It does happen. We all know why she was convicted. Let's get to the lawmaker part. Reuters did report that members of the U.S. House Oversight Committee are split over the idea of Maxwell receiving a presidential pardon, even if she were willing to provide testimony linked to their investigation in Epstein and any possible associates. Committee Chairman James Comer said that Republicans were open to the possibility, while others, including Comer himself, oppose it. Democrats on the panel have reportedly rejected the idea entirely. So it is the Republican politicians that are open to doing this. Again, guys, the people who claim to care so much about children and family are open to pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. And I'll go ahead and tell you something else. If they did pardon her and she was released, Ghislaine probably got two options. One, she's going to flee the United States and go off on some other private island somewhere that we don't know the fuck about. Two, she probably won't live long. She knows too much. Knows too much. And I still told you guys, I'm not 100% convinced that Jeffrey Epstein is even dead. I'm not. And then there's another part to this. After Melania Trump gave that weird, awkward press conference where I told you I felt like she was trying to get out in front of something, and then we reported that Amanda Ungaro was threatening to come out with information on Twitter. By the way, Amanda Ungaro has now deleted a lot of those tweets, so I guess they got to Amanda. She was the woman that was deported. Her husband had her deported, who's also a part of the Trump administration. He's also, was buddies with Epstein all throughout the files. That was Zempali. It's all connected. Well, apparently after that weird press conference, Ghislaine Maxwell, she sent a thumb drive to the DOJ. Peep this, fam. Maxwell sends a mystery USB to the DOJ days after Melania bombshell. Let's get into it. Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, sent a mystery USB drive to the DOJ days after Melania Trump sought to distance herself from the pair's heinous sex crimes. The disgraced former socialite sent the USB on April 16th in a fresh attempt to quash her criminal conviction and 20-year jail sentence for helping Epstein recruit and abuse women and girls. Now, let's talk about the timing here. She didn't send that thumb drive before Melania's press conference. She sent it after. What was on that thumb drive? The person who knows the most is her. Aside from the victims, Ghislaine Maxwell knows the most. She deleted them. She deleted them. I meant to tell you guys about that because some of them she left there and some of them she removed. And I also, that interview that she was supposed to have with Spain, she didn't talk about this at all. She was talking about, like, obviously the deportation situation, her being taken away from her kid, her being in Brazil now because of this. But she didn't get into the Epstein thing at all, which means that tells me they got to her. And that's why Melania did that press conference and got out in front of it. So these people, let's get into the details here. These people are crazy. While the details of the electronic files are not known, the timing of it, 7 days after the First Lady delivered a surprise statement about Epstein and Maxwell, raised eyebrows across Washington. So they don't even know. They won't tell you what are on those files. Here we go again with the secrecy. This woman is already guilty. She's already in prison. I feel like the public has a right to know. She sent something to the DOJ. Nothing there. Pam Bondi's fired. So, it's all crazy. In her April 9th statement, Melania Trump denied any ties to Epstein crimes and demanded that lies being spread about her must end. Remember this? So I'm wondering if whatever was on that thumb drive actually implicates Melania Trump. And what if Ghislaine Maxwell was using that thumb drive as kind of a threat to the DOJ? I got this information. Also, where the hell did she get a thumb drive? I thought she in jail. Seems like some people get certain privileges. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's got money. She's getting certain privileges. I saw video footage of her in prison, her just walking around all freely, free as day. Don't look like any prison I've ever seen on TV or anything like that. What's on that thumb drive? What if that's her way of saying, pardon me, or this information gets out. Pretty sure whatever was on there is also backed up somewhere else. This is where we're at now, folks. This is where we're at. Oh, and by the way, nobody has seemed to mess with Ghislaine Maxwell. They got rid of Epstein real quick. Ghislaine is living it up in prison, from what I understand. However, she never had a relationship. She said she never had a relationship with Epstein or Maxwell. The first lady insisted, despite rumors and photos with the pair, as well as a gushing email exchange with Maxwell being included in a recent dump of Epstein files. And they go back to this email here, which was October 23rd, 2002. Dear G, so that's Ghislaine Maxwell. How are you? Nice story about the JE and New York Mag, Jeffrey Epstein. You look great on the picture. I know you're very busy flying all over the world. How was Palm Beach? I can't wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. Now, Melania said in that press conference that she was not friends with her like that. You're not friends with her, but you call her G? Not Ghislaine? Think about that. Give me a call. That means she got your number. So this is one of the emails that we pointed to before that shows that Melania had a relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. And obviously then, of course, about Jeffrey Epstein. And she said, I know you're flying. How was Palm Beach? New Year's, Palm Beach, all these types of things. What else does Ghislaine Maxwell know? And what does she possibly have on Melania Trump? That's the question people need to ask. But this is where we're at, folks. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe this woman is asking for a pardon yet again and has the audacity to send thumb drives to the Department of Justice. You know, I still have hope. I have faith that one day these people are going to be taken down. And it may not necessarily be by the criminal justice system, because I believe in karma. And I believe that one day it's all going to come back on them, all of them. So she's asking for a pardon again. Fool me once. But the fact that there are some politicians that are willing to do it, that should give you pause. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Thank you for the super chat, Marvin. They tried to blame assassin attempt on Iran now. Of course. Thank you, Helpful Harm. Pardon creeps for testimony, yet redact evidence. Thank you, Kenman. Was Curtis Lewa actually shot 5 times or staged? That's a good question, Kenman. Good question. You thinking? And Doug says she got the goods on Melania. I'm betting you. Let's get that Rumble rant. All right. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Fully laden swallow. Damn. YouTube deleted my super chat. Back to your last topic. Was wondering what happened to the person in the crowd who was shot. Could have been staged as well. Could the assassin have been using blanks? You know what? That's a good question. I don't know what happened to that person. I didn't hear about that person again after that. I love my viewers. You guys are thinking. You guys are doing the damn thing. Let's go to part 2 for Type VNC there, Eric. Yeah, we will not allow ourselves to be fooled again. Not allow ourselves to be fooled again. Can we go to part 2? Thank you. So, I don't know. Scarlett said, or what does Maxwell have on bigger figures than Melania? Honestly, I'd like to see all the abusers prosecuted. And if Maxwell is pardoned in exchange for that, I'll take. She's also an abuser too. You know, so we always got to remember that. All right. If you have not done so, ladies and gents, do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. We are diving into, we're going to do a mini deep dive here about something we all need to be aware about, and that's Palantir. I've talked about Palantir on the show before, but now they have released this evil plan that they have for all of us, and people need to pay attention. First of all, this is how embedded Palantir is now in the government. Everybody look at this. DOD, U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, Marine Corps, Special Operations, DHS, ICE, HSI, HHS, CDC, FDA, USDA, FBI, DOJ, IRS, CIA, CBP, FAA, NSA, SSA, Social Security, NASA, FEMA, Department of State, Department of Treasury. You guys get it. The list goes on and on. That's how embedded Palantir is right now in our country. I have been warning people about this for quite some time. You have to know this is not just about Alex Karp and Peter Thiel. JD Vance is 100% behind this as well. He supports all of this. And I'm sounding the alarm right now about big tech and what it means for the rest of us. They dropped this master plan that I think should give everybody pause. Because we get asked a lot, the Technological Republic in brief. We're just going to skim through these. There's one in particular I got to stop and touch on. Silicon Valley owes a moral debt to the country that made its rise possible. We must rebel against the tyranny of the apps. Free email is not enough. Just going into some of these things. The limits of soft power of soaring rhetoric alone have been exposed. The question is not whether AI weapons will be built. It is who will build them and for what purpose. So they're telling you here right now, AI weapons are going to happen. Right here. National service should be a universal duty. We should, as a society, seriously consider moving away from all volunteer force and only fight the next war if everyone shares in the risk and the cost. Now, remember when I told you that the US government implemented automatic draft registration? You know, so many people said, well, they have to sign up for selective service anyway when they turn 18. Okay. The reason why I was sounding the alarm about that is because it could lead us to this. The automatic draft registration. Palantir believes it should be universal. That's everybody. So that wouldn't just be men. Moms, listen up. If you got daughters, everybody listen up. It wouldn't just be men. It would be women too. They want it to be universal. They said everybody should have to do it until, of course, they replace you with the robot soldiers and then they don't need you anymore. Of course, I think we all know who would be exempt from that. The billionaires will not be required to sign up. Their children will not be required to fight. They'll be excluded from that. They are promoting a universal national draft. I know, Caddy the Cat. I know. That's why I was so angry about that automatic draft registration. That was going to lead to something like this. 7, if a U.S. Marine asks for a better rifle, we should build it. And the same goes for software. Public servants need not be our priest. Again, this Palantir, this is a tech company. You see how they just read out this whole manifesto? We should show far more grace towards those who have subjected themselves to public life. What does grace mean with this? The psychologicalization, of modern politics is leading us astray. I'll show you the political part too, because I'm going to get into Alex Karp and who he really is. Our society has grown too eager to hasten and is often gleeful at the demise of its enemies. The atomic age is ending. You see this? AI is set to begin. These are the people who want to replace your jobs. These are the people who want everyone to sign up to fight these wars, and they're embedded in almost every part of our government here. No other country in history of the world has advanced progressive values more than this one. False. For those of us who have lived abroad, that's false. Progressive values, you can see those implemented in a lot of these countries that support like social democracy. So you can see that in like the Netherlands, Finland, Norway, where everybody has like healthcare. We don't have that here. This guy is fucking crazy. American power has made possible an extraordinarily long peace. Nope. We've started a lot of wars. The post-war neutering of Germany and Japan must be undone. We should applaud those who attempt to build where the market has failed to act. Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime. Ding, ding, ding. What did I tell you? There it is. Silicon Valley, they want to be involved in criminality. And this is where the surveillance comes in. If they can watch everybody at any time, any day, any place, then they can advance their systems to say, well, our systems predict that you are going to commit said act on said date, so we're arresting you now to prevent that crime. Just like Minority Report, the movie. The ruthless exposure of private lives of public figures drives far too much talent away from government service. The caution in public life that we unwittingly encourage is corrosive. The pervasive intolerance of religious belief in certain circles must be resisted. What do you think they're talking about there? Some cultures have produced vital advances, others remain dysfunctional and regressive. We must resist the shallow temptation of a vacant and hollow pluralism. So let's look at Alex Karp, okay? This is Alex Karp right here. And I'm going to show you something about him that might shock you that you may not have been aware of. Okay. This guy is buddy-buddy with Peter Thiel. They're buddy-buddy. They're in on Palantir together. They go way back. When you look at his early life and background, this is interesting. Alex Karp was born in New York City. He's the eldest son of Robert Joseph Karp, a Jewish clinical pediatrician, and Leah Janes Karp, an African-American artist. How many of you knew that Alex Karp's mother was African-American? How many of you knew that? I'm going to make a point with this, trust me. How many of you know? That's important when I show you something that Alex Karp said. This guy has a net worth, look at this, of $18 billion. And he is a legitimate fucking psycho. This guy wants to surveil you, me, and everybody else in the US. This guy wants to control the world. And if more companies continue to implement Palantir, he could be on his way to doing that. Palantir is the same tech that was used in Gaza against the Palestinian people. I say that because when I show you this, you'll understand why he says what he says here. This is his comment about Palestinians.
So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will...
This is why you don't get left to speak, because you are
Can we get security up there?
Mostly terrorists. That's true.
So, this is why I brought up the fact that his mom is African American. He referred to the Palestinian people as useful idiots. He agreed that they used their technology to kill them. His mom, let's back up here for a second, because I want to prove a point. His mom is African American. You know the history of Black Americans in this country. And look at how he talks about the Palestinian people. He's totally fine with killing these people and called them useful idiots. This is why it's important to look at the background of some of these people. Because as I said before, a lot of people don't know that about Alex Karp. When you look at his political views, this one's going to stun you. As much as Palantir has worked with J.D. Vance and the Trump administration, Alex Karp was a Democrat. Did you know that? Look at this. Let's go to who he voted for. He voted for Hillary Clinton. In 2024, he identified as a major Biden donor. The Financial Times identified him as a major Biden donor in 2024. You guys see? Current Affairs editor Nathan Robinson, he wrote about Alex Karp. He said that Karp seems to have an idiosyncratic personal definition in mind that has nothing in common with the socialist tradition. Karp said that while he was not thrilled with the direction of the Democratic Party, he would still be voting against Trump. That same year, he called for the Democrats to project more strength, saying, "Are we tough enough to scare our adversaries so we don't go to war? Do the Chinese, Russians, and Persians think we're strong?" In 2025, he viewed himself as a classic liberal. So, I bring this up to make this point. Alex Karp, who is buddy-buddy with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is supposed to be a libertarian, apparently. And J.D. Vance, who was created by Peter Thiel, who also supports and backs Palantir. When it comes to money, they don't really give a damn. They're not thinking about left and right. They're just trying to make money, and they want power and control, which means an Alex Karp who has an African-American mother can still shit on Palestinians and still vote for Hillary Clinton and donate money to Joe Biden and work along with Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance and the Trump administration. The reason being is because they're all in the same class. They look out for each other's interests. That's the point that I've been trying to make. In 2025, Palantir CEO said that legalizing war crimes will be good for business. That's this guy right here. So there you go. I am warning all of you right now. Do you see why? This is why you can't, when we got to focus on the money, we got to look at all of it. I see Palantir ads right here at games in Boston. It's everywhere. They have ads at Fenway. They have ads at TD Garden. That's why we got to follow the money. These people are crazy and they're insane, and they're going to take all of us down unless we find a way to come together. And I'm telling all you guys right now, because I see a number of people trying to find ways to whitewash the pro-Israel like candidates now, because Trump is such a disaster. And yes, he's a disaster. He's an asshole, but we can do better. And I'm just warning you guys, a lot of people are in bed with Palantir. That guy wants everyone, all of you, to be drafted. But he's not alone, because big tech is also making some errors here in Massachusetts as well. And this is more Healy's issue. A flawed fix for social media's harms. Check this out. I'm just showing you the game that they're playing. Governor Maura Healey and Massachusetts lawmakers are right. We can't trust big tech. So why are they trying to force residents to send big tech companies our most sensitive information? Social media design their platforms in a way that harms kids and erode democracy. So there is an urgent need for lawmakers to crack down on these companies' predatory and exploitative business practices. But legislation that bans children under 14 from social media and requires parental consent for those ages, which Massachusetts House recently passed, doesn't do that. Neither does Healey's bill, which also requires companies to verify the age of every user. Instead, these misguided proposals let big tech off the hook while threatening people's safety and privacy. The bill would require that social media platforms verify the age of every MA resident who creates an account. This sounds reasonable at first, but cybersecurity experts have warned that there is no safe way to do this. Many companies verify age by requiring users to upload their government IDs, but not everyone has such identification. Undocumented people and other vulnerable communities often locked out of services because they don't have a government ID. This also means trusting platform companies and third-party tech vendors with sensitive and personally identifiable information, leaving the data vulnerable to leaks, hacks, commercial exploitation. The second method used to verify age is facial analysis technology, which uses algorithms to estimate someone's age based on the photo of their face. Also, big bad idea here, right? The accuracy can vary significantly among people, different gender presentations, ethnicities, or people with disabilities involving facial differences. Regardless of the method, online ID checks means people's social media activity would be linked to their identity. Thus, Homeland Security, the alphabet letter agencies, they will be able to track you even easier. They will have your information. This is something everybody has to push back on. I warned you guys about this with Discord when they wanted to move towards age verification. And they say, oh, don't worry, nothing's going to happen to your information. That is a lie. They don't know that. And people have been able to steal and get into that type of information before. So everything that you see happening, someone said it in the chat, I saw it. Yeah, nobody can be anonymous anymore. Miss Sparkle is correct. And that's what they want. They don't want anyone to be anonymous. They want to know who everyone is. And I'll tell you another thing. Maybe Facebook is a little bit more strict with this, but Twitter is not. X is not. And I'm going to warn everybody now. All these accounts, a lot of these accounts on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, that don't have their real face. See, a lot of people have been paying attention to this, but Twitter basically just did a big purge where they have been removing accounts of people that they consider to be some type of bot or spam or something like that. And it's usually a lot of these accounts that either repeat information over and over, or they don't have their actual face like in the picture. And it's just like a face of a cartoon or something like that. This is not just going to be a Twitter thing. This is going to, fool me once. Eventually, I think it's going to get to the point where if Palantir has their way, all of these platforms are going to require that people actually verify who they are. And they're going to have all your information when you do that. They'll be able to link your activity, your online activity, to your identity because you gave them that information. Does that make sense? Now, I sincerely hope that it does not happen, but there's a good chance that it can. And it seems like they're wanting to head in that direction. But I'm telling everybody right now, Palantir is a huge problem. And I don't know how we take that down. If somebody knows, reach out to me, email me, let me know. But I will say this, Palantir has donated to both parties. You guys needed to see that because both parties, just like they support these wars, they support spying on us. They support, receiving our data and our information. And I think more people need to talk about the threat of Palantir because this is scary. They've embedded themselves in everything. DHS, FBI, like they're everywhere. They're even embedded in the IRS. And they have a puppet who may run for president in 2028, and that's JD Vance. Everybody need to take note now. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. All right. Thank you for the super chat. America. Ro Khanna is a pro-Palantir Democrat. Vote him out in November. He has investments in Palantir stock. You know what? People told me I should bring him back on. I would ask him about that. I haven't had him on here in a long time. It's been a couple years since Ro Khanna's been on the show. But yeah, I'm telling you guys, we cannot vote for Palantir people. We cannot vote for pro-Israel people. We got to think about ourselves and how this is going to impact our lives. Thank you, Miss Sparkle. Sabby, Palantir is used by the NHS in the UK. There you go. They're everywhere now. Thank you, Joy. Taylor Lorenz talks in depth about all of this. Yes, she does. I need to invite her back on because I know she's been warning people about this as well. Thank you, Logically. I just found out Alex Karp's mom won a trip to Israel at 18 years old for an essay she wrote, Why I Want to Attend a Summer Workshop in Israel. Well, there you go. There you go. Thank you, Flower Bro. After two different people broke onto Sam Altman's property and threw Molotovs, he announced he supports universal basic income. I'm not advocating anything, but it certainly seems A leads to B. And we also have to say on the show, we do not advocate for violence. Sam Altman is another cringe one. Thank you, Mark, for the Rumble rant. Sab, I tell you, it's time to go full on French Revolution on these billionaires. Throw some D's on it. Throw some D's on it. All right, let's get to our final story tonight, ladies and gents. If you haven't done so, please do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, please don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. The theme again tonight is Fool Me Once. And someone who is not going to be fooled is Candace Owens. Candace Owens has been throwing some blows here at Laura Loomer. And wait till you see what Laura Loomer said in response. I honestly can't believe she said this on camera. The woman's crazy. She's psycho. Somebody probably should have taken a camera away from her a long time ago. But Laura Loomer has been heavily attacking Candace Owens. She's been coming after Candace Owens' husband as well. Like, this bitch is crazy. Excuse my language, but she's crazy. Candace here went on to say about, President Trump having Laura Loomer who's a psychopath, as one of his top advisors. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Laura Loomer has become significant because we can look at her to understand the erraticism of Donald Trump, our president. He doesn't seem like the same person. He seems as though he has been possessed. That's his top advisor. According to her, multiple times a day, she speaks to him on the phone. One of the first phone calls he made after attacking Iran was to Laura Loomer. And so it was important for me to break down who she is and to make sure that you lower your expectations when it comes to people like her. Like I said, her goal is to harm people psychologically by lying, just by lying openly all the time. And I want you to know that in her own words, she has admitted to her addiction, which she has described as cocaine-like, to Spectator, because she'll say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. This person's lying." Take Laura in her own words. In an article that was done by the Spectator here, which was called "The Tale of Laura Loomer," which was published in 2019, where she just described having anxiety and depression. She wrote, "I had really bad anxiety and depression, and then I started to basically deal with depression by doing cocaine."
That's a horrible idea. I do want to point out to you guys, if you're not aware, Laura Loomer's own father said that she is mentally unstable, and yet she's considered one of the president's top advisors. Like, she has a press pass to the Pentagon, you guys. That's crazy, right? Think about that.
I was never a drug user before, but I was using cocaine to kind of deal with it. Laura was 23 years old. She continues, "There were phases when I wouldn't sleep for 3 days straight. And one morning I woke up and drove myself to a cliff, and it was cold and kind of snowy outside. It was February. I tried to kill myself, like legitimately tried to kill myself." Okay. So you can understand why she's not allowed to own guns. Suicide is nothing to mock, but it is something that she uses as one of her tools. Often she, like I told you yesterday, she makes suicidal threats, and there is an aspect of her that feels very homicidal. I'm not being funny. I'm not trying to be ironic when I say that this is a person who should not have access to the president of the United States.
She makes threats to other people as well, like life-threatening threats on X. And this just goes to show you Elon Musk has changed the algorithm on X to benefit those that support Donald Trump, of course, if you guys aren't aware. Anybody else saying the things that Laura Loomer says on X would get their account suspended just like that. But because it's Laura Loomer and she's an advisor to Donald Trump and she has that in, Elon Musk lets her get a pass. That's how things have been over on the X side of the world, for those of you who are not on Twitter.
And everybody sees that. And the fact that people reflect and think, if something happened to Trump, like I told you, people in, as I understand it, Melania's inner circle have said this, that she would be the most likely person to harm Donald Trump. And what would be crazy in the retrospect is that the whole world would go, yeah, duh. Like if she harmed a person, everyone would look around and go, every single sign was there. 50 states you can't own a gun in, things that you have said and shared about yourself, threats that you have made to other people, the manner in which you attack children. Like she wants my children to suffer, as she said yesterday. She wants my children to suffer and live on the streets because she doesn't like that I'm against what Israel is doing. She's attacking my lawyers. She's attacking my in-laws. That is the kind of person who is dangerous to themselves and to others.
And I told you guys before, where I cross, like there's a line that you just don't cross. You don't start coming after people's kids. And that psycho woman has done that. And I saw all of this take place on X. And I said, let me get off of X. I said, let me get off of X and, go do the laundry, go finish doing this laundry. Let me get off of X and go to the grocery store, because X is the place where people who are not, may not have it all together, especially upstairs, they just go on X and they just let loose. So sometimes I have to take breaks. When I say I take breaks from social media, like sometimes I just post and then I just go about my merry way, because it's some psycho people on X. Laura Loomer is one of them.
And so how did she deal with her cocaine addiction? If you're wondering why it seems like she tweets every 5 minutes and like she's deep in the throes of a manic episode, well, she explains in this article, I have nothing to lose now. And by the way, this is in the context of her having lost her Twitter access. This is, I have nothing to lose now, so it's liberating, she says. I became addicted to social media. I kind of lived off of the adrenaline. It's not a very healthy lifestyle to live because when you stop using cocaine, for example, you learn to cope with anxiety and depression in other ways. I pretty much substituted my lows for adrenaline rushes on Twitter. When I got banned, I was honestly having withdrawals. Okay. So it's a drug for her. Like Twitter is a drug for her. And that's why she tweets into the wee hours of the morning saying crazy things, spiraling in these manic episodes. And so I just want to make that clear to you. These are the people, when you look at what Donald Trump is saying, what he is doing, and why he just does not seem like he is steady right now, like he does not seem like there is a sane voice. He went from having the advice of people like Charlie Kirk and radically flipped that to people like Laura Loomer and Paula White Cain. Okay, this is a real clip of Laura Loomer when she did Alex Jones a few years ago. Take a listen.
But what are they doing? I want to know what people are actually going to do. My life is ruined. Does anybody understand how ruined my life is? I'm sick of it. I don't want to listen to people tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist. They don't know what it's like to be me. My life is ruined, Alex.
So forget.
I told you she's psycho.
At Laura Loomer, the question you should be asking yourself is Donald Trump mentally fit to be president if he makes a conscious decision to tweet out that Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens are mentally ill while he invites into his inner circle advice about what he should do to Iran, a person like Laura Loomer, who, like I said, when we're calling her crazy and we're talking, this is a clinical diagnosis. It's not an opinion. It's not funny. We're not using the word loosely. This is a clinical diagnosis. I personally think that Trump needs an intervention. I don't think the back forth, when I see the erraticism of the way he tweets, it's almost as if he's given access to his truth socials to people like her. There's an erraticism here that feels dangerous for our country, right? Like he doesn't care anymore, that he's gotten to some point of desperation, whether he is functioning under duress, whether he is being blackmailed, I don't know. What I do know is this is not the Trump that we had for the first 4 years. And even if you have hated him from the very beginning, if you love the idea that the Republican Party is at war with each other, if you're still functioning within the left-right paradigm, you should pull yourself away and actually have a broader sense of concern for the country and want there to be actually an intervention. You should pray for Donald Trump. You should want there to be a sane voice in the room. And at the moment, we're not getting that.
Trump is gone. But the Laura Loomer part, and I've told you guys about her before, like this woman has threatened people's lives on social media, like coming after people's kids, and nothing is done. Again, 100% violates Twitter's policy. Anybody else says those types of comments, their account is suspended. Hell, I've seen them suspend people for less. I've seen them suspend people because they're like, oh, they thought that account was spam or something because they were retweeting like fundraisers or something like that. I've seen them do it for less. But she attacks people and it didn't stop there. It didn't stop there. So she made this video, Jesus Christ. This is her response to Candace Owens. And I'm just going to tell you, brace yourself. Brace yourself for this response. Okay, everybody? If there's kids in the room, get them out of the room. At least for a second. Listen to what she said about Candace Owens. This is after she attacked her children and she attacked her husband. Listen to this.
And for some reason, there's a lot of people that are really afraid of this nappy-headed black bitch who just has a lot to say, but not really a lot to offer. So I'm not afraid of Candace Owens, and I'm happy to match her energy. I'm happy to wrestle in the mud with that bitch. And, you know, roll around and hurl insults back and forth with her if that's what she wants to do. I'm not afraid of Candace Owens. There's really honestly nothing that this woman can do to me. There's nothing that Candace Owens can say about me that's going to harm.
Did everybody hear what she said? Yeah. She took it there. So listen closely.
And for some reason, there's a lot of people that are really afraid of this nappy-headed black bitch who just has a lot to say, but not really a lot to offer. So
here's the thing. This is how Laura always felt. Laura didn't just start feeling this way after her and Candace went back and forth against each other on Twitter. This is how she felt all the time. She felt this way before. This is exactly what she felt about Candace. And honestly, that's probably what she think about a lot of black people. Just keeping it real. This does not come out of nowhere. That was buried deep inside of her for quite some time. That's how she always felt. And I told you guys, you were going to pay attention and watch the way that people move. When people start to break away from certain organizations, from certain groups, people will turn on you in such a way. And I've seen some things. People will turn on you in such a way that you honestly sit back and be like, yo, I thought we were cool. This is who Laura Loomer, this is who she is. This is how she always, this is what she always thought about her. The moment you leave their team, the moment you get out of the orbit and you decide to do your own thing or you start pushing back, then you see the real them come out. You notice when Candace was talking about Laura Loomer, Candace didn't make it racial. Now, she did post the picture of the Jigsaw. That was kind of funny, though, comparing her to Jigsaw from the movie Saw. But that was after Laura Loomer went after her children and her husband. Laura started all this. But notice Candace didn't say anything about, she didn't make it racial. But Laura took it there. Hold on to that.
I'm not afraid of Candace Owens, and I'm happy to match her energy. I'm happy to wrestle in the mud with that bitch and, you know, roll around and hurl insults back and forth with her if that's what she wants to do. I'm not afraid of Candace Owens. There's really honestly nothing that this woman can do to me. There's nothing that Candace Owens can say about me that's going to harm me. Candace Owens is a liar, okay? And she's a deeply insecure woman who is very unloved at the end of the day. This is a woman who is allegedly in a relationship with a gay man who is always going to feel the rejection of her family, the rejection of her mother, the rejection of her family that she claims left her alone when she was 14 years old, right, to fend for herself. This is a girl whose parents gave up on her at a very young age, and she is not loved. And as I said, God hates you, Candace. God hates you.
So for those who are not aware, one of the things that Laura has been saying is that Candace's husband is gay. I don't know, don't care, not my issue, not my problem. It's really not my problem, right? The problem that I have is Miss Pro-Israel, Zionist, racist Laura Loomer, and yes, she is. This woman needs to be on medication. And instead of being on medication, she gets press passes to go to the Pentagon when other real journalists can't get one. She is advising the president, who's fucking crazy. This woman hates everything and everybody.
Your husband hates you. Humanity hates you. Everybody who loved Charlie Kirk hates you. Your children are 100% going to hate you. And if what Milo is saying about your husband allegedly getting plunged in the ass by other men is true, your husband, the person that you're supposed to grow old and died with, hates you, Candace. So just, there's one thing that you need to do, Candace. You need to just internalize how hated you are, okay? Just understand how much oxygen you're stealing and what a shame it is, how much oxygen you are robbing from this planet. I think there needs to be like a quota on the oxygen that Candace is allowed to consume. Just understand how hated you are. I just want you to internalize every single time you do your show and you think that you are, spreading your truth. Just internalize how hated you are, Candace, and just know that you are truly irredeemable. Nothing you say or do is ever going to be able to redeem your dark soul and your dark heart. You're never going.
So that's just part one. And here's the second part here.
Candace Owens is just one resentful ghetto black bitch. Like, that's literally what she is. She's a
ghetto one. So now here comes ghetto. Again, Candace didn't say anything about her race. Why does she have to throw ghetto in it? Why does she have to say ghetto black? Like, why? Why does that have to come in?
Candace Owens is just one resentful ghetto black bitch. Like, that's literally what she is. She's a racist too. Like, you could listen to this, and I'm not a racist person, right? Like, I don't hate black people, but I say she's a ghetto black bitch because you have to listen to the way that she has so much resentment for white girls, like white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes. And I'm originally a blonde too. I have blonde hair and blue eyes, right? Maybe that's why Candace has so much resentment towards me. But listen to the way that she describes how traumatizing it was for her to go on a play date as a young black girl in Connecticut at the home of a wealthy white blonde girl with blue eyes. And she really sees Erica Kirk as that white blonde girl that got everything that she wanted while her mommy and daddy didn't love her. Mommy and daddy didn't love me, and I was jealous of the white blonde girl growing up who had mommy and daddy, so now I'm going to dedicate my life to destroying every pretty white blonde girl that has a happy family, because I don't have a happy family. I don't have a happy family, and my husband is allegedly getting his ass plunged by Milo Yiannopoulos, so I'm going to destroy everything that I've wanted to destroy since I was a young little black girl whose parents didn't love her.
That's Laura Loomer. That's who we've been talking about. Guys, I have to tell you, people, like, this space is crazy. There's a reason why I don't venture off into like, this space is crazy. People who are like buddy with you one minute, the next year that you don't move the way they want you to, they will flip on you, they will turn on you, they will come after you, they will come after your family. Like, it's not just on the right. That shit happens here on the left too. YouTube media, the space is absolutely crazy. Laura's just one of the people. She's a psycho. And it's interesting that she mentions that she used to be a blonde too. Yeah, she was a blonde. This is who Laura has no right to talk about anybody else at this point in time. No right to talk about anybody else at this point in time. I don't usually go there, but I'm just saying you had some work done. Laura had some work done. But you know what it reminded me of when I'm listening to Laura Loomer complain? You have got to hear what Julian Casablancas from the Stokes, I want you to hear what he said about Zionists on the Subway Takes Uncut. Listen to this.
Give it to
Sorry,
him.
I gotta fast forward.
Well, it's been nice having a career with you.
Same. Let's go down with the ship, Captain.
American Zionists get the benefits of, white privileged people, but talk like they are black people during slavery.
100% agree. I've never seen something so shocking where they're like, I'm so
Oppressed.
I'm an oppressed person. I'm like, you are going to a wedding in Tel Aviv right now when there are 80,000 dead people and more, 80,000 plus dead people, including women and children, half a mile away.
This guy right here, Casablancas from the band The Stokes, he hit the nail on the head. I'll put it here so we can see the text. He said, American Zionists get the benefits of white privileged people, but talk like they are black people during slavery. Couldn't have said it better myself. The Strokes, sorry. I think I said Stokes. The Strokes. Couldn't have said it better myself. Because that right there reminds me of Laura Loomer. Because Laura's always trying to make herself out to be the victim, but she throws a lot of like stones at people on social media, in person. Like she throws all these stones at everyone's way. But the moment that you respond and you say something to her, how dare you do that? You can't talk to her that way. If you do so, you're anti-Semitic. So we're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore, okay? Everybody get it? Pass it on to your friends. This whole, you can't say anything about me, because if you do so, you are going to be, we are not doing that. People are not falling for this anymore. And shout out to Casablancas here from the Strokes. Thank you.
Thing so shocking, where they're like, I'm so oppressed. I'm an oppressed person. I'm like, you are going to a wedding in Tel Aviv right now when there are 80,000 dead people, and more, 80,000 plus dead people, including women and children, half a mile away. Absolutely fucked and totally, you know what? I don't think it's bad to say that.
I mean, just for the people that are going to be like, Hamas, October 7th, yes, bad, but, you know, Native American rebellions didn't mean it was, you know, okay to do what we did. Slave rebellions that were violent didn't mean that, you know, slavery is not bad. You know what I mean? So that's the scope of that answer, just to be for the haters,
for the media illiterate.
I don't want to, I just, you know, indoctrination is such a strong thing. We want to be part of the tribe. And if, you know, if we started like burning weirdos, and so everyone just genetically almost wants to be normal. So I get it, but it is a sad fact, the brainwashing of just people in general, you know, where you can't be mad just because someone was like, something was rammed down their throat necessarily.
Do you think that there's hope?
Depend on what your timeline for, like if we achieve utopia in 500 years.
Oh, utopia? I'll be long gone.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No.
You want to be hopeful.
I want to be hopeful.
They want to be hopeful. But what I want you to take away from this is what he said right there. That's what people need to take away from it. Like when I heard this statement, that reminded me of Laura Loomer. It reminded me of Alan Dershowitz. It reminded me of Rabbi Shmuley. It reminded me of that Michael actor guy who doesn't really get work anymore, but he still tries to remain relevant. It reminded me of that. And it's wild to me that is done. And that so many people have fallen for it for years. But we're not falling for that over here. We're not falling for it over here. Laura Loomer is no different. But the fact that someone put the psych ward thing in there, yes, absolutely. Like her dad said she was mentally unstable. But she has access to the president of the United States. She has access to the Pentagon. You want to tell me that's not privilege? Come on. All right. I am going to do this announcement and Eric's going to come on and close out the show. Big news. I am so happy, guys. The reason why I was not able to go live on Tuesday night is because I found out that my documentary has been accepted to Roxbury International Film Festival. It is the first one that we've been accepted to. I've applied to others, but I won't find out about those until like later on. This is one of the more earlier ones. But I shared the news on X, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your support, everyone who watched it, a lot of people who reached out to me. So just letting you guys know, my documentary, Remove Black Erasure in Boston, has been selected for Roxbury International Film Festival. See you this June for Roxfest. And here's that trailer here. Yes, Boston is home to winning sports teams and elite universities, but some might say that there are two Bostons.
If you look at City Hall, no one's talking about that specific racial and historical component that Black people are the ones that are being removed.
There's a huge significant difference in lived experiences, and we know this because of the wealth report. We're at $8.
This whole gentrification concept is not particular to Boston. It's what they did all over the country. They kept moving Black people out of the inner city. It's a plan. It's been in place for a long time.
While the gentrification displacement isn't as bad as 1963, it hasn't gotten much better now.
They've created spaces where we are no longer seen anymore. They're wiping us out one community at a time, and they're getting away with it. This is gentrification. Franklin Park has been a place where we have built community, and all these things are at risk.
Why is the mayor willing to throw herself on this sword, do or die, for this project?
It's not about soccer. It's about the additional profits that can be made in this entertainment complex.
It's a disrespect that you would take public parkland and then give it to a private group to control it.
And this project is Emmett Till's mama pulling back a curtain. And if people don't look at what's behind that curtain, it's coming to them.
We're going to drop the beat because we did it, guys. So we got accepted to our first film festival, and hopefully there will be more to come. I've applied to other ones as well. But thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you. We're going to drop the beat. Drop the beat. Dance with me. Dance with me. Drop the beat. In the street. Yeah. All right, guys. I am so excited. Again, this will be my first film festival. So there's a number of things that I have to do. But when we found out, like when you get accepted, then the festival reaches out, and then there's other things that you have to submit. So that's what I was working on. That's why I wasn't live Tuesday evening. So super pumped and excited about that. And I will keep you guys posted. Also, thank you to everyone. We reached our goal for our mutual aid event, our pre-Mother's Day brunch and donation. Thank you guys so much. So we don't need any more monetary donations. We reached the goal. We're good to go there. If you want to still mail diapers, baby diapers, personal hygiene products like body wash and shampoo, you can still mail them to our P.O. box for Boston Mutual Aid. The P.O. box is right there. So you can still mail that stuff if you want to, but I would say don't mail anything the first week of May because it may not get here in time, depending on where you're sending something from. But thank you guys so much. I'm so happy. So excited for you guys. And, this weekend we're doing a couple of things. At least I'm doing a couple of things also for the film festival as well. So there's other things that we need to do to get things ready. But super excited about that. Also do want you guys to know that the Franklin Park defenders that were a part of that documentary, which some of you saw, they did take this to the Supreme Court. So for those who I've been keeping that kind of hush for a minute, but they took this to the Supreme Court in Massachusetts, the takeover of White Stadium, and they are now waiting for the response of the court. I watched the hearing. I saw it on YouTube, and look, I'm waiting to see what the justices are going to say, but the reality is you can't just keep kicking people out and let rich people come in and do whatever the fuck they want. And that's what's been happening. And it's not just in Boston. It's happening in cities all across the country. These people are going to buy up everything. And that's why I keep telling you guys, it's us versus them. The whole left-right thing, it's happening on both sides. Left and right do this. Rich left and rich right people come into these neighborhoods and buy up shit and displace people. So when people start to see that it's not left, right, it's up, down, then we're ready to have a real conversation. That's how I see it. All right, guys, that is it for me tonight. I'll be live again on Sunday. Eric's going to come up and close out the show. We will resume call in next week. I have an appointment tomorrow morning. This has been a really busy week for me, so my apologies. But we will have call in next week.
We got a few chats saying congrats. So
Thank you.
Truth, and one from Tweety Bird. Mom's the word here.
Thank you.
Congrats,
Thank you
Sabby,
so
keep
much.
speaking the truth. And you had this one starred too. Is it the first documentary of many? Is it?
We will see. We will see.
see.
I'd like to
And
do more, but just not right now.
we'll
I'd
get
like to
there,
do
right?
more. Yeah.
Now the festival is in June,
Yes.
and we'll have to see get the peeps together for that one in some fashion, right?
Yeah,
We'll
when they
see.
give us, because it depends on, there's a schedule, and then so whatever day, because it's a whole week, but whatever day that I am scheduled, I will let you guys know,
To make it a
because
big Sabby
they'll
meetup.
screen the movie. Yeah.
And I did want to make like there's kind of a connection here, like with what's happening with White Stadium in Boston, which is the subject of the documentary, and Palantir, in that it is kind of I see this connection of kind of this elitist attitude, the billionaires, the mega corporations, and this idea that they're just going to make all the decisions. Also with this the Massachusetts law about keep kids off social media, and it's this elitist attitude of that billionaire class, and just saying to the 99%, just take the back seat, let us drive, let us control everything. And that's where the fight is, not left, right, it's up, down. So I just saw those connections in there, and it's the
Yep.
same fight.
Yeah. They don't really want us to have any, they want all the power and control. They don't really want us to have a say so. That's really how it is, you guys. Like, it's getting to that point. They don't want us to have any say so. They want us to just like bow our heads and do what they tell us to do and don't ask any questions. It's that whole go to work, keep your head down, put your head down mentality.
And then I think it's really important as to what do we do about it, right? Is having real demands, the old MCDS, right? Call out that money and corruption, have real demands about have our government not corrupt, have it work for us, and we'll get to real solutions. So I always want to make sure we get that in there, and that we can do something about it, but we're going to have to get organized.
Yeah.
And a big movement, real demands, and call out the corruption.
That's right. All right, guys, that is it for me. Have a good night. Keep up the fight. And Eric's going to close out the show.
You got it.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, we got a few super chats to read here. And that one that came through on that Massachusetts law it's quite something, because people think Massachusetts is this big progressive lefty state, and in some ways it's better here, in some ways it's good here, but there is a real through line here of that kind of elitist money, the big corporations, banks, and those billionaire interests, do run the show here as much as anything. Now, it's kind of like you have the billionaires running things, and they give us crumbs, right? That's kind of the role of the Democratic Party is to be the giver of crumbs to people when they decide they're unhappy with how things are working. And so, maybe you could say in Massachusetts that compared to a lot of places, maybe the crumbs are a little better, crumbs are a little bigger, but it's still, not nearly how it should be. And this law, where they're, it's supposedly protecting the children from social media, is just an example of our government's not here for us, right? A government that should be ours doesn't represent us. They don't represent our interests. Interests are a big thing here. They represent the interests of that top 0.1%, the billionaires. It's important to recognize that and to frame that clearly and have that clear, because then that's kind of the M part of it, MCDS. Then you can have a clear demand, right? Don't be corrupt. Don't have a government, maybe we can start with a government that's half as corrupt. Maybe make that a starting point as the demand. But even just that, just putting that framing out there is really important, because then you do get to those real solutions. If you look at 11demands.org, here in the little title, you can see what a list of demands like that looks like, how it leads to those solutions, and kind of connected onto that mass law. It was a really good op-ed that was by Evan Greer of Fight for the Future, and I recommend looking that up. That was really well laid out and put in there. And what it comes down to is that they're not doing this law to protect children, to look out for us. They're using that as an excuse for more tracking, more surveillance, more censorship, because that top 0.1%, they are afraid of the 99%, with cause. I mean, what the 99% says, should be how things should be in their interest. And so it's all about narrative management. It's all about getting things the way they want. The billionaires, are richer than ever, and they're trying to keep that going. And so part of how they do that is with censorship and surveillance. It's part of how it all operates. So I did want to, if you go to 11demands.org, what this really ties into is down on the list of 11 demands, and we scroll down a little bit, we're down to, actually we can get there quick this way, click on it, reject censorship and surveillance. And these are the type of things that we need to be demanding. These protect freedom of speech. And Tracy, I see your question there. I'm actually going to answer that in a second. So censorship and surveillance, right? So we need to have these demands. This needs to be what we're demanding of our politicians. Protect freedom of speech from that censorship, whether it's the government or using it through the corporations. Prohibit all non-consensual tracking and collection of personal data unless you have proper search warrants. There's, don't persecute the whistleblowers, protect the journalists, break up those large social media and other media corporations. That's a big part of it. Reorganize them, employee owned and governed. It would look very different. Don't allow them to deplatform people except through due process. Regulate their algorithms. The social media algorithms are huge. Those should be transparent and regulated. There's common carrier rules, which gets into how they treating people equally on the platforms, and prohibit government agencies from using big tech companies for backdoor surveillance. So I really like the story tonight about the Massachusetts law that's supposedly to protect children, but we just happen to require every user on the social media platform to give them their identity, the government ID, facial scans. I mean, this whole bit. It's not by coincidence that it operates that way. So so what Tracy's asking here, how do we get to the billionaires, the Peter Thiels, the Lex Wexner, right? What do we do about all this? Our strength, the way that this gets fixed is by numbers. There's this key thing in 11 demands, the kind of a mission statement, if you would. We need a mass movement based on clear demands with a strong focus on corruption. So that's the key thing. How do we motivate those numbers? How do we get to where anytime a politician makes an appearance, there's 100, 1,000 people in the crowd saying, you're corrupt, fix the corruption. Here are our demands of what we're looking for. That's the challenge that we face. So we want to be having conversations on how do we get there. As Firepower says, we got the MCDS, which is that whole money corruption demand solutions. I think is a really good tool, a really good framework. I'd like to see, everyone who's sharing in this kind of thinking, use it as a tool, put it out there. Always focus on that money, always focus on that corruption. That's what's happening in our government. Have clear demands about what needs to happen with it, get rid of it, fix it. And when you're asking for that, the solutions are clear. And if you look in 11 demand strategy, there are clear solutions. But it's about numbers as far as what's the real kind of basic question of how could we possibly fix all this? How can we do anything about it? It's going to take numbers. We need to figure out a way to collaborate, to be working on these things as a group. And the best thing that, that I've come up with, that I think some of us around 11 demands have come up with, is that core set of clear demands is the thing to rally around and to be focusing on the corruption. So we got work to do. So let's work on that. And of course, we'll keep talking about that on this show. And yeah, I could be more positive. Or maybe he was talking to someone in the chat, but in general too, we do need to have a kind of a positivity about this. We can say it's going to be really hard, and we don't see that mass movement coming together around clear demands, but that's what we need to work on. And so that's the start. All right, let's catch some of these super chats. We got some in on the different platforms here. Let me check what's around here. I think, yeah. Thanks for the super chat. Bringing that up. Here we go. Super chat from Snowy7148, who says Loomer needs to be locked up in an asylum. And yeah, and thanks for this one. Glam Sarah says, didn't Laura's father have her committed to a psych ward? I don't know I'll say allegedly, or we don't know the details on that, or at least I don't. But it is telling how far things have gone, how bad it's gotten, that you have that kind of character out there, and apparently has some kind of following, saying these kind of vile things. The type of person should just be ignored, right? Just should be pushed off to the side and just saying, no one's going to watch you, no one cares. And the bad news is, yeah, things have gotten this bad. Things are really kind of amazingly how far they've gone. The good news is maybe that's what it's going to take to get us to the next place. Sometimes it just has to get that bad before things can get better. And so, let's see what we can do with that. Let's leverage that. Everyone knows the corruption runs the roost, that our government is thoroughly corrupt. It works for that billionaire class, whether you call it the billionaires, the mega corporations, the bankers, however you want to frame it, it comes down to that same kind of billionaire interest. In closing, I'll say, we need to identify it. We need to demand it. We need to demand an end to it. We need to, be clear about those demands and, roll it up into that kind of a movement. So let's work on that together. Meanwhile, in these parts, we're going to be calling it a night for tonight. And you can check out, the stuff that we've been talking about on the old 11demands.org. So more to say about all of that. And on our schedule, our next live show will be on Sunday at 5 p.m. And we'll see what's happening then. And until then, I'm going to close it out with the old have a good night, keep up the fight, and we'll see you all next time. And thanks everyone for listening and watching. Peace.